Hello, this is Alfred Miller with Berkeley Adult School. I'm here to teach you a little bit about the Microsoft Excel 2013 AutoFill options, as well as how to use a mixed reference in a formula. In this case, I'm going to make a multiplication table. Basically, 12 times 12 will be the largest size of it. And what I'd like to do is start building the outer edge of my multiplication table, basically the numbers down the side and on the top. So I'm going to make sure I'm in A1. I can simply click there. I'm going to type a 0. I'm going to go up into my formula bar area and click the check mark to confirm my entry. The only reason I'm doing that is it keeps me in square A1, where I'm now ready to use my fill handle. The fill handle is generally used to copy or extend a series. So what I'm going to do is point to the lower right corner of my active cell. It turns into a thin black plus, and I'm going to drag across, in this case, the number of rows or columns that I want. In this case, I'm just going to go across all the way over to column M. That should be 13 columns, and let go of my mouse button. You'll see that it put a bunch of zeros going across, which means that it didn't detect a series, so it ended up copying what it saw in A1. I'm going to simply click this AutoFill Options button and choose Fill Series. I'm going to do something very similar to going down column A. I'm going to click in square A1, go to the lower right corner to the fill handle, drag on down to row 13. Once again, I should expect zeros because it didn't find a series, so it ends out copying. I click the AutoFill Options button again, click Fill Series. So that's your AutoFill options. Now I'm going to start building a formula that's going to include mixed references on a couple of cells within our formula. I'm going to click in square B2 where I want my first multiplication answer, which in this case would be this value of 1 that's in square B1 times this value of 1 that's in A2. You start all formulas where you want the answer. So make sure you've clicked B2. Now start with an equal sign. So you type equal. You click square A2. And in this case, we want to make what's called a mixed reference, which will allow me to copy this formula, but when I copy across the row, it's going to know that it can't leave column A, because I always want to use this number 1 here. So I'm going to press the F4 key, and you'll notice it puts dollar signs in. If I have dollar signs around the column letter and row number, that locks square A2, so when I copy, it's always using A2. That's not what I want. I'm going to press F4 again. Now it has a dollar sign 2. That means it's locking in row 2. So as I copy across, it can't leave row 2. But that's not quite what I want. So I press F4 one more time. I have a dollar sign in front of the A, which means it locks in the column because I want to stay here in column A when I copy across the row. Now I'm ready to put in my multiply symbol. Shift number 8, for those who didn't know. Now I need to multiply by square B1. So I simply click B1. And once again, I want a mixed reference, but in this case, I want it to move across the row. I want it to stay in row 1, but be able to move across the columns. So I'm going to press F4 to make my mixed reference. It starts absolute again, which is not what we want. Absolute is dollar sign around the column letter and row number. I press once again, and it has dollar sign. Row 1 has the dollar sign on it, and column B doesn't, which is the mixed reference that we want. I'm going to go ahead and click the check mark again, and you'll see I do get an answer of 1. And if you look up here in the formula bar, you'll see what looks like an odd formula with the dollar signs in it. That's just telling me equal A2 times B1. The dollar sign before the A means column A must stay constant when I copy. And then the second part of the formula, the dollar sign 1 means that the row number 1 for square B1 needs to stay constant. And you'll notice now when I go to the fill handle in square B2 and I drag across to column M, I got all the right answers. Now if I go to my fill handle in row 2, and specifically in this case kind of near M, and I drag down all the way to row 13, you'll see I've completed my multiplication table. You would not be able to do this without doing what's called the mixed reference. And if you want to see kind of what a mixed reference looks like, let's click in square C2 and you'll get. As an example, by clicking in square C2 and looking in the formula bar, you'll notice the formula equal dollar sign A number 2 multiply C dollar sign number 1. The dollar signs is what's making the mixed reference. Thus, when we copy the formula in cell C2 down column C, what it's allowing it to do is to copy down the column, staying in column A, but allowing the row number to change so that the formula will adapt correctly. And then the $1 portion is doing something very similar. What it's doing is when I copy across the row, it allows it to change columns, but it does not allow it to leave row 1. Thus, it's going to continue to use the numbers in row 1 properly to make our formula work. This is why we need mixed references in formulas at times, is to lock in rows or lock in columns. I hope that doing this multiplication table is an example for you that you might be able to see the need and the usefulness of mixed formulas. I hope it helps, and good luck. Thank you. Bye-bye.